Hello, my name is Ray. I'm the curator at the Greater Cleveland Aquarium, and today we're going to learn a little bit about reproductive strategies in fish. We'll talk about different varieties of egg laying and mouth brooding, and find out all the ways that fish do and don't provide parental care for their offspring. And for good variety, we'll sprinkle in a couple amphibians along the way. The panda barbs seen here exhibit egg-laying behavior. They'll actually lay eggs in unorganized nests in the rocks, allowing the eggs to be protected from predators and hatch out. Once hatched, the parents give no protective care, but the rocks do. The smaller fry will stay between the grooves of the rocks, again hiding from predators, until they can grow large enough to keep up with the rest of the school. These poison dart frogs, like most amphibians, are egg layers. They'll lay their eggs in a sticky mass on a leaf or a branch or near an edge of a pond. When the eggs hatch on their own, they'll swim off into the pond or slide off the leaf like a water slide into a neighboring puddle, where they'll continue to develop and grow into little froglets. Once again, no parental care at all with these guys. While the adults for these species may not do much in the way of assistance, we as caretakers of these animals can. When possible and as needed, we will collect juveniles and eggs from exhibits to help rear them off scenes. Daffodil cichlids are a great example of intentional nest building fish. These parents will make a nest, use it to lay their eggs. Once hatched, the fry will congregate and hang out around that nest while being protected by their adults and previous batches of siblings. If you note, the fish getting larger and larger as they get away from the ground levels, each one of those older batches were previously from that same nest. They're there helping to protect the younger batch that are still there. Some animal parents do give parental care. The Surinam codes are an example of that, but they do it in the oddest of ways. They'll actually lay their eggs on the backs of each other, and the eggs will cement into place on the backs of the adults until they hatch, all the while developing through the stages of tadpole into froglet and coming out as fully formed little miniature versions of the adults. These weedy sea dragons are another example of great caregiving parents. Just like all of their relatives in the seahorse and pipefish families, they take great care of the eggs while they're gestating. The male sea dragon carries the eggs on his tail for the entire period of gestation after the female lays them. As long as the eggs remain attached to the male's tail, they will continue to develop and gestate. Once they're ready to hatch, they'll hatch out into the wild, and then they're on their own. Lookdowns, like all members of the jack family, are what we refer to as pelagic spawners. They'll gather in large groups in the ocean to release their gametes in mass, where they'll become fertilized eggs that drift off as part of the plankton. Eventually these eggs will hatch and the small larval fish will continue to develop in the plankton until they're recognizable as the fish we see here. Bangaii cardinalfish are a great classic example of parental care in fish. These animals will actually do what we call mouth brooding. The adults will hold the eggs in their mouth until they hatch. Then they'll keep collecting the baby fry in their mouth until they're of a suitable size to be released. The whole time forgoing any feeding of their own, just to make sure that their brood is protected. Once they are ready to be released, they'll find a suitable home on a reef, typically in the spines of a long-spined urchin, where they'll be further protected from predators. These stingrays, along with many other, actually give live birth to one pup at a time, once a year. That pup comes out as a fully formed version of the adults, and is often swimming on its own, typically in bays and estuaries along the Atlantic coast. Working our way all the way up to our biggest representatives at the aquarium, we have our sand tiger sharks. These species also give live birth, typically to one individual at a time, but with a very bizarre twist along the way. Sand tigers actually have multiple offspring to begin with. Internally though, as they're developing in the mother's uterus, they'll actually perform an interuterine cannibalization, where the first of the pups to hatch actually eats the other eggs that are all still being held and developed. This allows them to grow good and strong to become the top one in the batch. Once fully developed, they'll give live birth, and that little juvenile shark is ready to get off into the world and do its thing. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the ways that fish and amphibians reproduce both in the wild and here at the Greater Cleveland Aquarium. If you want to learn more about these and many other fish and amphibians, stop by the Greater Cleveland Aquarium. Nature is a curious thing.